Yes. Well, hello everybody. It's nice to see everybody here tonight. Okay, so welcome to the Arizona DUI Services 20 hours of treatment. So by this point with your DUI, you've most likely completed your 16 hours of education. So for those of you who are live, obviously you will be able to ask questions. You'll be able to work on your worksheets directly with me. We'll watch videos together. For those of you who are watching by video, or you chose to do this online, you might not have direct access like that, but you certainly can ask us questions at any time. Please do not hesitate to email us. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are always available for you. So let's move into who I am. My name is Robin Fernandez, and I am a licensed independent substance abuse counselor. Hopefully the screen is not too small. I'm doing my best to try and accommodate everybody live and then everybody that's watching online. So I'll go over each line so you guys can know what it says in case it's a little too small, but hopefully you can see it. So I'm Robin Fernandez. I'm an independently licensed substance abuse counselor, which we shorten with the acronym LISAC, and I have been that in the state of Arizona since 2004. So I've been working directly with substance abuse individuals, those addicted to alcohol, addictions of all sorts, and the DUI population since 2004, off and on. Obviously, I've had other positions where I do other things, but I have been very involved in this population since I really got into this field many moons ago. My passion is to help and to serve others. So I enjoy helping everybody. I enjoy serving, so that's why I say we're always available for you. So if you are watching online and you do have direct questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Send an email if you're watching late at night, because you will have access to this 24 hours a day. So send an email, send your questions. I might not get to it overnight if you send an email, but I promise I'll get to it the next morning when I get up and I get into work and everything moves forward. I will answer your question. I'm married and I have 2 sons that I homeschool. Been homeschooling, I think this is our 9th year of homeschool. It's something I really enjoy doing. I like having my children close. I'm teaching them a lot of stuff about entrepreneurial things that they can do for themselves and just finding where their interests are. So that's been a huge blessing. My husband Paul and I, you probably spoke with Paul before. If you've done any of our services or you're doing any of our services, you most likely spoke with Paul. So Paul and I own Arizona DUI Services. We went into this together. He has a degree in business. He has a master's degree in entrepreneurship, combined with my education and training in counseling and substance abuse and my license. It worked together, coming together. So we were able to really put this business together to serve the population in Arizona. And that's what I hope we're doing for you. So today is session 1 of treatment. Now this is 20 hours of treatment, so you will have about 10 sessions that you'll have to complete. There will be some sessions where there's more individuals that are working together. I have a couple presenters that I'm going to have in future sessions. Some of you that are live might want to speak. We'll talk about that as time goes on. Today's session is going to be more just about me, a lot of education. It's what we call psychoeducation. So psycho for psychology or psychological, and then the education part for us bringing forward information to you that's important. So in the state of Arizona, in order to do your education and your treatment for DUI, you have to go to a place that's licensed by the state of Arizona, and that is also approved by the Motor Vehicle Division. So Arizona Department of Transportation Motor Vehicle Division, or ADOT MVD approved is what they call it. So the actual state of Arizona has specific licensing requirements that we have to meet. So we have to put together our education, we have to put together our treatment, and it has to come together to fit specific requirements for the state of Arizona. And that's what we've done. So we are a licensed facility, obviously. We are Arizona Department of Transportation MVD approved. So anytime you take anything with us, whether it's a screening, your education, your counseling, your treatment right now, all of this is going to be reported directly to the MVD, and it gets reported electronically. You also get your own certificates. If you're live, you'll get one printed out here when you're done. If you're online, you will have access to print it out. If for some reason there's a glitch, just let us know. We can get you the needed certificate anytime. And we upload everything to the MVD electronically, so if your license has been suspended, then those will open up little clicks in their system that allows you to move forward and proceed to the next level and the next step that the MVD is requiring. So today's session is on communication. So hopefully you know that there are different styles of communication. You may or may not understand that by now, but hopefully you guys will learn by the end of today's session just about communication and why it is so important. Not only with work or with colleagues at work, but it's so important at home. It's so important with our personal relationships. Communication across the board is often one of the top reasons that relationships get skewed. So let's move into some information. How do we communicate? We have different communication styles. And as you learn today, you'll see that those different communication styles are passive, which we'll talk about, passive-aggressive, aggressive, and then assertive. So these are the different types of communication styles that you want to be more aware of by the time you complete session 1. We also have a worksheet that we'll be working on today, and then there'll be a couple videos. So we'll watch the videos live, and then anybody online will have access to click on the links, and you'll have to watch those videos. So please know if you are watching online, whether you're watching live online or whether you're watching or whether you've signed up for the course and you are taking it as you like, you have to complete everything within the session in order to move forward to the next session. So if for some reason you're like, I can't get into my session 2, well then that means there's something in session 1 that you didn't complete. So you'll have to go back to session 1, see what wasn't watched. You have to watch every video from start to completion. So that means the video that you're seeing now, you'll have to watch this from start to completion. Any videos that I put on there regarding communication styles, they have to be watched from start to completion. Any worksheets that are there, you have to open them up, you have to review them, you have to complete them. Now the worksheets are really designed for all of you. There's something that you can have that hopefully when you're working, if you're working on yourself and you're going deeper into some healing and getting as much as you can out of all of this treatment and this education, then you'll want to work on these worksheets. So this is not just designed to meet state requirements, this is really designed to help you. And I promise you, if you put your effort into this, you will see some changes, whether you've realized you needed them or not. So I hope that the next 10 sessions, however long this takes you, for us live, it will be a few weeks, but for however long it takes you for you watching, I hope that at the end you can say, I learned more about myself, and I really want to put many of those components into my daily living so I can be a better communicator, I can be a better husband, I can be a better wife, I can be a better son, daughter, I can be a better friend, I can be a better employee. Those are all such great aspects and goals to strive for. So that's really my goal here. That's our goal through Arizona DUI services. So anything we can do, we'll help you to do that. But that's what I wanted to let you know. You will have to complete all videos. You will want to work on the worksheets, and you will want to make sure, because that's going to open up your next session. Okay, so moving forward, how do we communicate? These are the different communication styles. Let's take a deeper look into each one. Passive, and you can tell by the picture, it looks like somebody's somewhat excited, and then we have somebody that looks a bit upset, but has a goal maybe of being happy, so you don't really know, passive. Passive in real life, well, what's the definition of passive? To kind of step back and to not do something, not be like super into doing something, right? So you're just passive. When we look at passive, and for those of you who can't read it, I'm sorry if it's too small, but I'm going to go through each line. Passive communication styles those individuals often fail to assert for themselves. So they fail to say what it is they want, and they fail to do what it is they want to do for themselves. They often allow others to deliberately or inadvertently infringe on their own rights. So this might look like, if you want an example, maybe you work with a person who doesn't doesn't work, Saturday and Sunday of this week, but for some reason someone's asked them to work Saturday and Sunday, and even though they had plans and they didn't want to, instead of saying no, they said yes because they are being passive. So even though they don't want to do that, their rights are being, infringed upon because they're not speaking assertively. Passive communicators fail to express their feelings, their needs, and their opinions. Did you have a question? No? Okay, so passive communicators tend to speak softly or apologetically. So sometimes they might not use their outside voice when they could use their outside voice. Maybe their voice is very, very soft, and maybe they're very soft-spoken. And that doesn't mean they're bad. I mean, my goodness, people who are passive are often very kind. It doesn't mean that at all. But being too passive can definitely lay the foundation for terrible communication later on, and it can definitely harbor resentment in relationships. So we'll talk more about that as it goes on. Passive communicator will exhibit poor eye contact. They might have slumped body posture. The impact of a pattern of passive communication is that these individuals often feel anxious because their life seems out of control. So they don't have control over what they want to do. They don't even have control over their own plans that they had because somebody's asked them to work for them and they have passively said yes. They often feel depressed because they feel stuck and hopeless. Often they might even feel confused because they ignore their own feelings. And they're unable to mature because real issues are never addressed. So unfortunately, a passive individual in a relationship, that relationship may always have challenges because of the passivity that person displays. A passive communicator will say, believe or behave like, I'm unable to stand up for my rights. I don't know what my rights are. I get stepped on by everyone. I am weak and unable to care for myself, and people never consider my feelings. So it's definitely, as you can see, a communication style that can lead to harboring of resentment. It can lead to anxiety. It can lead to depression. It can even lead to alcohol and substance abuse. Because often an individual who is passive may only feel that they can speak what they truly want to say when they have less inhibition. And we all know that alcohol often helps us to have less inhibitions. We tend to be ourselves, so to speak. When we're drinking alcohol, we can speak more, right? So as you can tell, the passive communicator can definitely see an issue with drugs or alcohol because it can enable them to maybe speak more freely. All right, now passive aggressive. So now we have the same component we were talking about before, but now we're going to add something into it. We're going to add something called aggressive into it. So now we have passive aggressive. What is passive aggressive? The passive aggressive approach is often a communicator who mutters to themselves rather than confronting the person or the issue. So you might have run into this before, right? You're talking to somebody, you're telling them how you feel, and all of a sudden they kind of stomp away. They walk away, right? And all of a sudden they slam the door. They didn't say anything, they didn't tell you anything, but they slammed the door, right? So passive aggressive, okay? Often they'll have difficulty acknowledging their own anger. So they slammed the door, something fell off the wall, and in the process something broke because it fell off the wall. But are they going to admit that? Not necessarily, okay? Often they'll use expressions that don't match how they feel. So they might be super mad, except they might smile. Even though they're really mad and they could really blow up right now, they're going to smile because that's what passive aggressive does. They could use sarcasm. They might deny there's actually a problem. They might even appear cooperative while purposely doing things to annoy and disrupt, okay? They might use subtle sabotage to get even. So here's what this could look like, right? So let's say you're a mom and you have gone all week to work, right? And this can apply for fathers too. Because I'm a female, I'm using female words, but this could be for our dads too. So you're at home as a parent, right? And you went to work all week. Now you're home, you're trying to relax, and you look over in the corner and you see a bunch of stuff that you told your family members to put away on Monday, and it's now Thursday, and you're wondering why it's still there. And you're tired, and you don't really feel like getting into it with anybody, but yet you're also a little bit upset, right? So you kind of stomp away when you stomp away, you push over the coffee table, or you walk away and you kind of hit the wall on the way in there, you slam the bathroom door. You're doing things that are showing you're upset, but you're not actually communicating why you're upset. So even though you probably have justification for being upset that stuff never got done, you're not acknowledging what you need to say, and you're not saying it correctly. And you're definitely not communicating it right. So nobody knows what the heck's going on, okay? So that's passive aggressive in a nutshell. Now we get to aggressive, and as you can tell, she seems very feisty, right? She seems feisty, she seems upset, she seems aggressive. So aggressive communicators often try to dominate others. Maybe you've worked with somebody like this before. Maybe you had an angry boss. Maybe you've had an angry spouse. Maybe you had an angry parent growing up. Aggressive communicators often humiliate to control others. It's sad, and it's concerning, and it should never be done, but it happens. Aggressive communicators often criticize, blame, or even attack others. They're very impulsive. They have low frustration tolerance. So if you've worked with somebody who has been aggressive in the past, they might be very hard to deal with. So you might have done something that you made an error at work, and you're like, oh no, I don't want to tell my boss, I don't know, I don't want him to get angry, I don't want him to yell, I don't want him to slam doors, right? So now you understand what you're dealing with. You're dealing with an aggressive communicator. Aggressive communicators can speak in a loud, demanding, and overbearing voice. They might act threateningly and rude. They might not listen well. They could interrupt frequently. They use you statements. Maybe they even point at you. So instead of using an I statement like I feel overwhelmed, they're saying you're making me feel overwhelmed, right? Those are you statements. They have an overbearing or intimidating posture, okay? So maybe they're already tall, and they get into where you are, and they stand up even more straight, and they just look overbearing, okay? So that's aggressive. So now we gotta figure out, if we have all these ways that we communicate and none of them are good or healthy, what can we do to communicate better, right? Because that's what session one's about. It's about communication. This is gonna help us in our everyday life. If we do have some substance abuse and alcohol issues, communication is key, right? So assertive communication would look something like when a person states their needs and their wants clearly, right? So they're actually telling you exactly what they feel, or exactly what they need, exactly what they want. And they're saying it with respect. Their voice is in tune. Their voice isn't raised or too low. They're just talking to you normal, like you would talk with a friend on a good day, okay? They express their feelings clearly, appropriately. They use I statements. They communicate respect for others. That's so important. Respect. Can you believe it? I think it's even, be kind, show respect. Keep an open mind, be amazing. Showing respect is huge. It's huge no matter where you are. It's important in the grocery store. It's important at school. Showing respect is important at work, at home, everywhere you go, you should show respect, okay? Assertive styles will definitely listen well without interrupting. They feel in control of themselves. So when they're talking to you, they're not trying to talk over you. They're not trying to steal the show, per se. They're telling you what they feel, and they're listening to you tell them what you feel, right? So they're communicating. It's a healthy communication style. They have good eye contact. They speak in a calm and clear tone of voice. They have a relaxed posture. So even if they're taller than you, they're not trying to be overbearing, right? They feel connected to others. They feel competent and in control. They don't allow others to abuse or manipulate them. That's so important. So when we look at why that's important, because a person who is passive, like we were talking about at first, I'm not saying they want to be abused or they want to be yelled at, but because they're so passive and they don't express what they really want or what they really truly need, they can get taken advantage of. Often they'll get taken advantage of. And because they get taken advantage of, they get hurt, they feel disrespected. It can lead to so many different feelings like anxiety and depression. It can lead to isolation. So an assertive person doesn't allow that to happen. They don't allow themselves to get abused or manipulated. They stand up for themselves, and they tend to stand up for other people too. So now that we understand more more about communication and the different styles and what's healthy and what isn't healthy, let's look at how communication is often affected by alcohol, substances, both using them and abusing them. So I don't know if you guys know the difference. I'm sure you've heard it before. But the difference between substance use or alcohol use and substance abuse and alcohol abuse is this. When somebody chooses to go to, let's say, an engagement and they have a drink, they have a glass of wine, or they have their favorite drink, or maybe they go watch a football game and they have a beer, right? That is just alcohol use. Now, when someone chooses to misuse that or continue to have drink after drink after drink, they black out, they don't remember, they are behaving poorly while they're drinking, they have a high blood alcohol content, like you learned in the education component of this. Higher blood alcohol means that you drink so much that your body is storing this alcohol, the metabolizing it, and what's going on. There's so many components to the blood alcohol, but you guys understand what I'm saying. So alcohol use and abuse are different. The same with substance use and abuse. So let's say a substance, let's take a benzodiazepine, which can be something for anxiety, like a Xanax or an Ativan or a Valium, right? You've been given this medication by a prescriber, whether it be your medical doctor, your primary care doctor, or even maybe a psychiatrist if you're seeing somebody for some mental health concerns. They've given you this medication, they told you to take the Xanax twice a day, morning and night. Let's check back in a month and see if we've got your anxiety down. But instead what you've noticed midday is that you need another Xanax, right? So instead of taking the recommended, or not even the recommended, what has been on there told you to take, the 2 a day, you've increased it on your own without doctor recommendations to 3 a day. That becomes abuse, okay? When you start to use a substance in a way that it's not designed or wasn't prescribed for, then you're abusing that substance. So now that we understand that, let's see how communication actually affects all of it. So there's been a recent study, okay? This is even a newer study. It was published in the Journal of Alcoholism, and it reports that clinical and experimental research found that people who were alcoholics have trouble using pitch to communicate the emotion behind their statements. So pitch is the way in which we get like this, or we get a little louder, or we get a little bit more quiet, right? So it's how our voice fluctuates, it goes up and it comes down. So what this study is showing that individuals who are drinking alcohol, especially alcoholics, right, have trouble figuring out the pitch that goes with their communication. So if you've ever spoke to somebody, maybe you have somebody in your family or somebody that you love friend-wise that is an alcoholic, and you've talked to them before, and you can definitely validate this. You're like, wow, I know this for a fact. When I talk to so-and-so, their voice is all over the place, right? So obviously we know that communication is affected by alcohol. In addition, the voices of people with alcoholism were perceived as less expressive, rougher, and even more flat. So more flat would mean, less of enthusiasm, maybe no emotion behind what you're saying. So maybe they come to you, they're drinking, and they tell you, you know what, my Uncle Chris died last night. There it is, plain and simple. No emotion, just real flat, just real busted out and black and white, right? We also know that this can lead to trouble communicating since the same words can have vastly different meanings depending on the tone and pitch that they are spoken with. So we know that when we're using pitch and we're using emotion, when we're talking and communicating, that people understand this better, right? So when we don't have those components going on because of alcohol, that's a huge issue. These results suggest that emotional communication difficulties can persist long after alcoholics have quit drinking. So what that's saying is this study shows that even when an alcoholic or a person who is addicted to alcohol has chosen a recovery program and is no longer drinking, that these communication variables are still affected because of the alcohol. The alcohol has made changes in the brain and it's still affecting their communication style. So they got some work to do. It doesn't mean you're doomed. It never means you're doomed, okay? We all are a work in progress and it can definitely be worked on. Now there might be some individuals that have come to a point in their life where the changes in the brain aren't necessarily going to be able to be fixed totally, but that doesn't mean that you can't be more cognizant of how you're talking and how you're living your life. And it might take a little bit more work for some, but you can definitely make some changes, okay? So when we're talking to somebody it's important to know that there's power in what's called I statements. I'm certain that everybody has heard an I statement, right? I statements are I am. So I am capable. Oops, I'm sorry. I am capable. I am loved. I am happy, right? These are I am statements. Very powerful, especially when you're speaking them on a regular basis. So it might seem silly to some individuals doing positive affirmations, but research shows that the more we do that, we train our brain differently, okay? So if we want to change the way we feel, we've got to change the way we think. And in order to do that, we have to put better words into our own thoughts. So we have to tell ourselves, we have to take whatever we were saying before and we have to replace it with something better. So I am are very powerful statements. I can. Now I can do anything. I can succeed. I can learn. Now, can you do anything? I don't know. I mean, could I lift a car right now? Probably not. If I had a bunch of adrenaline rushing, maybe with the help of somebody, maybe I could. But I mean, I'm talking about realistic goals here, right? I can definitely manage my household, right? I can definitely be a better spouse. I can definitely be a better mom. I can definitely be a better friend. I can succeed in the things I want to do. I can succeed in my goals. I can achieve my goals for sure. Here's some other I statements that you might not even feel you can use right now, but you can start to use them and apply them to your life. I always have money. I always have friends. I always have fun. I always help people. I always like to serve, right? How about these? So let's switch it from I am, I can, I always to I am not. I'm not capable. I'm not loved, and I'm not happy. Okay? So it's very hard to say that you are these when you're using I'm not, right? I mean, obviously an I'm not statement is not healthy. I can't do anything. I can't succeed. I can't learn. I never have money. I never have friends, and I don't have fun, right? So it's just the power of it. So just remember that. The power of I statements. Very, very profound. Now, the effects of you statements, which we stated earlier, a lot of times in aggressive communicators, they use you statements, right? So instead of saying, I am saddened that this happened at work this week, they're like, you made me so mad. Oh my goodness, you didn't do this. You were supposed to clock in. You didn't clock in. So the power of you statements are just as powerful as I statements. So let's take a look at it. So obviously when we are, let's go back, sorry, that's not the right one. So you statements are going to be, like I said, just as powerful as I statements. Now when you're pointing your finger at somebody and you're trying to communicate with somebody and you're telling them you, next time try and use I statements. So instead of saying, you didn't do the dishes and you really upset me, let's try and change that. We could definitely say, I had to do the dishes right after work and I was tired and I'm just kind of burnt out on that. So what that does is it reminds the individual that the dishes were left. Now, whether or not that individual was supposed to do them or not, who knows? But it reminds them that those dishes were left. It reminds them that you came home from work. It reminds them that you're tired. And it reminds them now that you were just burnt out on all of it. Because I came home from work, I had to do the dishes, and I'm feeling tired now. I'm feeling a little burnt out, right? So the power of I statements versus, I came home from work, all the dishes were piled up, you didn't clean them last night, man, you make me tired, right? So definitely a better way to communicate is to use I statements, even when you feel like you want to use you statements. That's what I'm going to tell you. Even when you feel like you want to use you statements, I statements are always going to have a better impact, and it's always going to create a more assertive style of communication for you and whoever you're talking with. All right, so nonverbal, we're moving right along. So I'm happy about that because that definitely allows us to get through this session a little bit quicker, to watch some more videos, and to work on our worksheet. So nonverbal versus verbal communication. So nonverbal communication is basically how you talk without talking, right? So it can be, the crossing of your arms. It can be messing with your hair. If you had gum, it might be pulling it in and out, right? It might be moving your leg around, or even going like this with your thumbs, or hitting your fingers or something. So there's lots of ways that people communicate non-verbally compared to a verbal communication where you're actually speaking. Now the two that go in hand to hand, obviously. So when we have nonverbal communication, people can tell what's going on just by the look on our face, right? So if you are, it's kind of like when somebody has an aggressive communication. If they're telling you they're fine, but their voice is elevated, they're slamming doors, right? They're smiling even though you can tell they're upset. Those are going to be incongruent. Your nonverbal communication is incongruent with your verbal communication. So try and be aware of that. That's all I'm asking. Just try to be aware of that. Take a look when you're talking next at yourself. Be cognizant of how you're standing. Are you standing nice? Are you standing approachably? Are you standing like this and giving looks that you just don't really want to be where you're at? Are people getting the wrong idea because you're not expressing your communication correctly? Those are areas I want you guys all to be aware of. Now, we do have, I think it's a great worksheet tonight. And if you are watching online, you will need to open up your PDF file. Let's take a look at this worksheet. So this is something, like I said earlier, if you are truly serious about making changes, you will work these worksheets. You will definitely strive to make changes. Because let me tell you something. And I don't mean this in any way other than from my heart. Getting a DUI means that something happened. Even if it was your first one and it was a mistake, something still went wrong. Because you're in this class and you're not in jail or you're not in prison, that shows me that this was probably your first, maybe second DUI, but it wasn't felony. Maybe it could have been, who knows. But it shows me that maybe, hopefully, nobody was injured in it, and it could have been such a different circumstance, right? If you've attended your MAD panel or your victim impact panel, you know that many people, thousands, millions of people have lost their loved ones to drunk drivers. So I want to make sure that these classes are helping you. I want to make sure that this treatment is something that you can actually say at the end of the day has made an impact in your life. So that's my goal. I don't just do this because this is what I want to do. I mean, this is what I did in college. I did lots of education to get where I am today. And I've worked in this field for many, many years, and I'm here to tell you that this stuff works. Even when you look at it and you think, wow, it's so elementary. It's not. This is what you have to do to make changes in yourself. So everybody here that has a copy, go ahead. Let's take a look here. It says at the top, assertive communication. A communication style in which a person stands up for their own rights, needs, and wants while also taking into consideration the needs and wants of others without behaving passively or aggressively, right? So our goal is to become assertive. That is our goal for session 1, to become assertive. So a traits of an assertive communicator. They clearly state their needs and their wants. They make good eye contact. They listen to others without interruption. They have appropriate speaking volume. Their pitch is very understood. They have a steady tone of voice. So they're not like sporadic. They're not going up and down. They're not like freaking out. They're not getting like super low and paranoid, right? So they have a very steady tone of voice. And they have confident body language. So they're not standing there like totally scared and wondering what's going to happen. But they're standing with confidence. I want to talk to you. I want you to know what I feel, and I want to know what you feel, because I want to be able to help. I want us to be able to communicate and have a great relationship. So that's what assertive communication is all about. So here's some assertiveness tips. Respect yourself. Respect your needs, respect your wants, and respect your rights, as they are as important as anyone else's. So your rights, your needs, your wants, those are just as important as anybody else's, okay? So respect them. It's fine to express what you want, so long as you're being respectful toward the other individual and you're not violating their rights. So it's not like I'm going out and telling you, yes, go fulfill everything you want to do at the expense of other people, because that's not what I'm saying. You have to be respectful. An assertive person is confident, and they're also respectful. Express your thoughts and feelings calmly. Giving the silent treatment, we know, is not good. Yelling, threatening, and shaming are all great examples of what not to do. Take responsibility for your emotions and express them in a calm and factual manner. Try starting sentences with I. There we go, I statement, right? I feel tired, right? I feel alone, Okay? I statements. Plan what you're going to say. Know your wants and your needs and how you can express them before entering a conversation. Come up with specific sentences and words you can use. Okay? So this takes some practice. Like I said, if you want to make the needed changes in your life, you're going to be practicing. So I don't expect you guys to wake up tomorrow if you have poor communication skills or you're an aggressive communicator or you're passive aggressive. I don't expect you tomorrow to wake up and suddenly, miraculously be assertive. But I do expect that you are practicing that you are being aware of that you are being conscious of your words, you're being conscious of your body stances. So your nonverbal communication as well as your verbal communication. When you plan what you're going to say, maybe you have a big meeting later on with your boss. Maybe you have a dinner date with your significant other or your husband or your wife. Maybe your grown child. Maybe you want to sit down and talk with them. Plan what you're going to say. It's okay to plan what you're going to say. You might not say it verbatim during the conversation, but planning it is definitely helpful. Say no when you need to. You can't make everybody happy all of the time. Saying no is so incredibly important. If you want to make changes in your life, you have to be willing to give your best yes. And your best yes can only come when you're saying no to things that don't fit into your schedule, things that you just can't do this week, things that maybe are outside of your scope of practice. Maybe you just don't even feel like you want to do them. It's okay to say no, all right? In order to give your best yes, sometimes you're going to have to say no. So continuing on our worksheet, it says examples of assertive communication. So this is an individual talking. I've been feeling frustrated about doing most of the chores around the house. I understand that you're busy, but I need help. How can we make this work? I won't be able to take you to the airport on Friday. I've had a long week and I want to rest. Now that is being assertive, and hopefully you've given the person, hopefully this isn't Thursday night. Hopefully this is maybe Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest, so the individual still has somebody to take them to the airport on Friday. They can still plan that. But if you are feeling run down and you don't feel well and you just can't do that, it's okay to tell them in advance that you can't do that. And again, hopefully you're doing it with enough notice that they can find somebody else. And with so much rideshare today, Uber and Lyft, somebody can get them. They can get themselves a ride. Another example, I'm having a hard time sleeping when your music is on. What if you use your headphones, or I can help you move the speakers to another room, okay? So what you're saying is you're getting your point across, but you're also offering to help the situation, to make it conducive for everybody involved. So it's not like you're trying to be rude and not help out. You're definitely willing to move forward with that and help them. So what I want you guys to work on, again, if you know, all of us here will work on this, and I'm going to go ahead and close out the video part of this. But I want you to definitely, on your own will, move forward with these different examples and just think about it. You don't necessarily have to print this out and write them out. I have no problem with you reading them, maybe talking them aloud, maybe working with somebody in your family, maybe sharing this with somebody you feel could benefit from it, and creating your assertive response. So there's different examples, and there's different scenarios. There's friends, there's partners, and then you're coming up with the assertive response. And again, if you have any questions after this video, if you're watching online, you can send the email to me. You can ask questions. You can even share with me your responses. If you're truly willing to want to work on this, I am here for you, and I will gladly respond to your emails. So that's part for this worksheet. Now, there are some videos. We're going to watch them live, and anybody watching online, you will have to click through the videos. Again, you'll have to complete everything from start to completion in order to move on to session 2. But I'm going to go ahead and stop this video now, and I thank you, and I will be with you guys next time as well.